Welcome! I am the 9mm Atheist. If there's any question as to why I call myself the 9mm Atheist, the reason is I have a legal carry conceal and I carry a 9mm. More specifically, I carry a Taurus Millennium G2 PT111 9mm. For now, that's what I carry. My next firearm purchase will be more than likely a Rock Island Armory Tactical 9mm. So it'll be a full size rather than a compact. And I just like the 1911s because they have a crisper trigger. They're single action. Is it single action or single double action? I can't remember. Mine's a double action. It doesn't have the hammer on the back of it. And so my trigger's a little deeper on mine. I don't like it, but that's not what this channel's about anyway. Just letting you guys know that I like 9mm. I'm not a huge fan of 40s and 45s. I think shot placement speaks more volumes than caliber. And 9mm's cheaper. So moving on from there. Today's show we're going to talk about the morality of God. And I don't remember exactly which Bible verses or what, because while I have read the Bible all the way through, I didn't study it enough to memorize it. I'm not that interested. Reading it, I think in my lifetime I've probably read the Bible anywhere between 5 and 7 times. And I know for absolute certain that 3 of those times I read the Bible word for word, page for page, front to back. The rest of them I just kind of skipped around to different books to kind of get more of a, a refresher, I guess you could call it. And so let's talk about the morality of God. Now, there is a pretty heavy-duty Christian apologetic in this. And that is, well, that's why Jesus came, for the New Testament, so that the Old Testament doesn't apply. Well, if you're going to use that as apologetic, I'm going to refer you to Matthew 5, verse 17 and 18. And you can go ahead and read that yourself. But we're going to talk about the morality of God and how our morality is superior to God's. We can start with the story of Abraham and God telling him to kill his son. Show of hands, who here would kill their son if God told them to do it? Nobody? Shocker. Personally, I'm going to leave this to another episode, but I'll hint to it now. I am an atheist, obviously. I do not believe there is a God. But if tomorrow God appeared and he was measurable and testable and we could evidently prove that God was real, I would still be a godist, for lack of a better word. And what I mean by that is, I still wouldn't worship his ass. Wouldn't do it. I would not kneel before such a horrible, 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 immoral, unjust, jealous, bitter piece of shit. Now, the morality of God is summed up in a lot of different ways, mostly through the Old Testament and Leviticus and Exodus and a couple of other books. How to handle a slave. God literally condoned slavery by his own biblical law. And in the New Testament, Jesus does not refute slavery in any fucking way. I don't even think he broaches the fucking subject. So we'll talk about that. How to beat a slave. Oh, well. What slaves are worth how much money, and what slaves are worth not so much money. Well, let's chalk that up to God's misogyny. Because even though God is all perfect, all omniscient, and fucking knows all things, and blah, 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 he still is such a dumbass that he created us in an image that needs to be altered, or that is somehow inferior. So women slaves are half the price of male slaves. And you can't beat a slave. Well, you can beat a slave, but you can't beat them too much. If you beat them too much, then they are to go free. And I wish I had some reference material, but again, I do these episodes currently off the cuff. And someday, if I have a co-host, that'll change, and we'll put more effort into doing these. But for now, read Leviticus. And then go back and read the New Testament, because nowhere in there does Jesus refute any of the laws in the Old Testament. And we'll talk about the misogyny of God, where he created Eve to be submissive to Adam. And we'll talk about the racist God who slaughtered entire cultures. We'll talk about the homophobic God who created people gay and then, in the Bible, damned them to hell for it. Actually, God damned them to brutal beatings, where they are to be stoned to death. How is that moral? Or where God's rule is, if a man is to rape a woman, he must pay her father 60 pieces of silver, and then he is required to marry her. I don't want to hear an apologetic on that, because no matter what you say, it can't be justified. Telling a rape victim that she has to marry her rapist? Oh, yeah. This one piece of the Bible is all I personally would need. If I had never heard of God, and somebody said, read this book, that one piece of that one part of Scripture would be the one thing I would say, no, fuck this. Because that is so beyond immoral, so degrading. It is so unbelievably horrific, and it is absolute evidence that the Bible is man-made and written. Because back in the times of the Bible, yeah, that was very likely a law. It was a man-made law, adopted into a man-made book. We can talk about God's all-knowing, his ability to know all things, right? He knows all. So when God created Matt Dillahunty, God knew that Matt Dillahunty was going to become an atheist. By his own doing, God damned Matt Dillahunty to hell. That's fucked up. God says, I don't remember what the verse is, I make all things good and evil, light and dark, or something along those lines. God made evil, admitted to it in the Bible. God created your sin and then damned you for it. When I've read the Bible, it just so, it occurs to me instantly that it is so beyond man-made, because there's so much just gnarly, stupid shit in it that only people who were illiterate could possibly come up with something so fucking ridiculous. And instead of God trying to save all of the people that he apparently created in his image, the Japanese at the time, who were far more civilized, far more educated, the Chinese, who were the same, far more civilized and educated, at the same time, God spoke to just a bunch of fucking illiterate goat herder Middle Easterners. Had no concept for reading, writing, very little concept for art or any kind of technology of any sort. They were uneducated as fuck. The Mayans were more educated. The Egyptians were more educated. Native Americans were more educated. Chinese, Japanese were more educated, seriously, than this nonsense that these idiots came up with. I don't mean to be mean to them, but that's essentially what they were. They were ignorant. They had no premise or concept of anything. And the more I've read the Bible, the more I'm led to believe this conclusion, that it's just a man-made Bible with already written man-made laws. And so that speaks volumes to the morality of God, that the morality of God is morality of early Middle Eastern men. It is, by today's standards, woefully immoral, horrendously immoral. We see it in the news once in a while where some Christian nut job does something fucking insane, and everybody, even the evangelical right, come out against that person, even though what he did follows his scripture to the letter. So no, I'm gonna end this episode here. I will reiterate this episode at some point where I will have passages in scripture and some more reference material to go from. I am also going to do a few more episodes today because, as I told you in the re-intro video, I deleted a bunch of videos. I had valid points. I think I went about them wrong. So I'm going to post a bunch of videos today and tomorrow and try to catch up to where I was, trying to redo those videos in what I would consider to be a better light. So yeah, have a good day. Subscribe to the channel, like and share this one. Comment if you disagree, or if you have a death threat, sure, comment away. Have a good one.